And we begin with breaking news out of Wisconsin. Milwaukee police and the ATF responding to a report of an active shooter at a Miller Coors brewing facility in Milwaukee.
We've just learned multiple people were killed, but it's unclear how many there is. The shooter also believed to be dead. That's according to the mayor of Milwaukee. Milwaukee police first tweeted about a, quote, critical incident around 3 o'clock this afternoon, asking people to stay clear of the area. The building is part of a larger business complex where about 600 people are employed. A lockdown was issued for nearby businesses and at least one school. This is a developing story. You can look for updates on KSAT.com as well as in our later broadcasts. Next week, she will find out if she is still in the race for Bexar County Sheriff. But before that, former Constable Michelle Barrientos Vella is forced to make an appearance in felony court.
Our Dylan Collier has covered her fall from grace since the very beginning and was there as her attorneys said they can beat this case.
Ma'am, this is a public hallway.
Supporters of Michelle Barrientos Vella tried unsuccessfully
You're doing a bad job, ma'am.
to block our camera from gathering footage of the accused felon. Barrientos Vella and her former captain, Mark Garcia, face a list of public corruption charges. The one-time Precinct 2 constable, who was removed from office in October, has added former District Attorney Nico LaHood's high-powered law firm in her fight to overcome the 6 criminal counts. LaHood today offered no timeline on how long it could take to go to trial, saying there is a lot of evidence in this case.
So it's going to take as long as it takes for us to make a proper assessment and to give Ms. Vella a proper defense. At this point, we've seen nothing that worries us or that we believe that she is guilty of the allegations.
Years of incidents and allegations culminated last fall with this 10-hour raid of the then constable's offices.
I have been subjected over and over to this kind of things that you're seeing behind me right now.
She spoke while Rangers removed files, but is now letting her legal counsel do the talking.
At this time, she maintains her innocence, and we stand with her.
This court appearance comes less than a week before the March primary. LaHood saying that Barrientos Vella went right from court back to the voting polls. She is scheduled to make her next court appearance in about 60 days. Outside the Bexar County Justice Center, Dylan Collier, KSAT 12 News.
New at 5, do you recognize this person? San Antonio police are looking for him after he allegedly had indecent contact with a minor. This picture taken February 13th at the Walmart on Southwest Loop 410 by Ray Ellison on the west side. If you know who he is, contact SAPD's Special Victims Unit 210-207-2313.
A 49-year-old man accused of exposing himself to a minor before school every morning is now facing charges. Gary Gallardo is accused of exposing himself to a 12-year-old victim every morning for about 4 years. The victim told investigators Gallardo would expose himself while she waited for the school bus in front of her home. The victim told investigators Gallardo first started exposing himself when she was just 8 years old. She recently recorded him in the act. He was arrested by Elmendorf police on a charge of suspicion of indecency child exposure.
We're still working to learn the name of a woman who died while crossing the street this morning. San Antonio police say it happened about 6. The woman, who's believed to be in her 60s, was crossing Nacogdoches Road just south of Wurzbach Parkway when she was hit by a pickup truck. They say she was not crossing at a crosswalk, and based on what the driver and witnesses told investigators, they believe this was an accident. The driver not expected to face charges, though police are still investigating.
We're also working to learn the name of a 42-year-old woman who was killed in a crash this morning in East Bexar County. It happened around 8 in the morning on Highway 87 East. The sheriff's office believes the woman suffered a medical episode before she crashed into a tree. She died at the scene.
President Donald Trump and the Centers for Disease Control getting ready to address the nation over the coronavirus within the next half hour. This as questions grow over containment and the risk of it spreading community to community. Right now, the virus has spread to all but one continent, Antarctica. There are about 35 confirmed cases that we know of across the U.S. 5 of those cases are right here in San Antonio. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is asking for $8.5 billion in emergency funding to help prevent the virus from further spread in the U.S. If approved, The money would be split among the CDC, the Public Health and Social Services Emergency Fund, the United States Agency for International Development's Emergency Reserve Fund, and a vaccine development program at the National Institute of Health.
2 days after a 25-year-old father was indicted on a charge of injury to a child, we are now learning more about what got him there. 17-year-old lyric artist died on Saturday after Bexar County Sheriff's deputies found him unresponsive at a Northeast Side home. We now know the father, Rick Artis, who is a suspect but has not been charged in his son's death, has been under investigation since October 2018. An indictment released today accuses Artis of striking his son and causing injury by failing to properly restrain him in a car seat. It also accuses Artis of not seeking medical care for Lyric's injuries. In a statement, the district attorney's office says Artis was indicted after new information on the October 2018 case was provided to them.
He's a police officer who's well known for the wrong reason, doing on-the-job pranks that involve, of all things, excrement. Today, he continued to fight to get his job back, with the SAPD police chief himself testifying. Chief William McManus stood by his decision to fire Officer Matthew Luckhurst after he defecated in the only women's toilet at a police substation and didn't flush. City records then claim Luckhurst smeared the commode seat with a brown food substance that looked like feces. But today, Luckhurst's attorney grilled the chief on other cases of misconduct against women by other officers that he claimed didn't end in being fired. He also pointed to supposed statements from fellow officers that what Luckhurst did was just a joke. This is Officer Luckhurst's second firing. The first was for giving a homeless man a sandwich made of dog excrement. Luckhurst appealed that termination last year and won.
Violent crimes and property crimes, they're said to be decreasing across the nation. But here in San Antonio, not the same case. Law enforcement agencies across the country submitting crime stats to the FBI from parts of 2018 and 2019.
As our Devin Clark explains, a local criminal psychologist says the uptick in crime isn't necessarily a reason to worry. It's part of our Crime and Justice series, where we look at the root causes of crimes and possible ways to tackle them.
We want to not get too worrisome about small increases or even decreases in crime rates.
When comparing the first half of 2018 and the first half of 2019, here in San Antonio, the FBI reports the number of violent crimes jumped by 255, from 4,916 to 5,171. This includes crimes like rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. Property crimes, which include larceny theft and motor vehicle theft, rose by over 1,500, from 30,590 to 32,384. Despite the increased numbers, Texas A&M University San Antonio criminology professor Dr. Durant Franzen says that that's not a clear-cut indication that more of those crimes were committed.
Increases in crime rates are not necessarily a bad thing. It could be that maybe crime is being reported more, which is actually good.
When looking at the numbers, Dr. Franzen says it's also important to consider that San Antonio is one of the fastest growing cities in our nation.
It doesn't necessarily mean that by population, we would expect to see some increases in crime rates.
On the other hand, here in the Alamo City, the FBI report shows a decrease in murder. It's down by 5, from 58 to 53, and burglary is down by 500.
This is really more just about the ebb and flow of crime rates.
Dr. Franzen says long-term trends paint a better picture of safety and security.
Going back, 20 years or so now, we see huge decreases in crime rates overall.
And that, he says, is a clear indication that San Antonio has been becoming safer over the decades. Devin Clark, KSAT 12 News.
There may be no such thing as Southern hospitality in the battle for the White House. About 15.3 million people watched the Democratic candidates face off in last night's debate. But with all the infighting and commotion, did any of those Democrats vying for the nomination actually break through? Nadia Romero is in Charleston, South Carolina to tell us who did well, who fell flat, and who won a critical endorsement today. Nadia.
Well, Steve, we know that both Joe Biden and Elizabeth Warren both got major endorsements. Joe Biden was the one that we were all waiting for to learn about today. And even Bernie Sanders, even though he was definitely in the hot seat, his campaign says he raised over $1 million during the debate.
In lieu of sweet tea and Southern hospitality.
You spoke over time, and I'm going to talk.
Tuesday night's Democratic debate in South Carolina served up feuds.
You didn't write that bill.
I
wrote that bill.
Finger pointing.
You wrote the crime bill. Where we come from, that's called Tommy Come Lately.
And fireworks.
Talk about math.
At the center of the melee, frontrunner Bernie Sanders.
I'm hearing my name mentioned a little bit tonight.
His opponents painting the Vermont progressive as too radical to lead the ticket.
Anybody in this room imagine moderate Republicans going over and voting for him? And you have to do that or you can't win.
And too divisive to be president.
Bernie and I agree on a lot of things, but I think I would make a better president than Bernie.
Imagine spending the better part of 2020 with Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump.
Sanders also hit hard for his record on gun control, giving Joe Biden a chance to shine.
Let's talk about being progressive. Bernie voted 5 times against the Brady bill.
Biden's strong showing earning him the coveted endorsement of Representative James Clyburn, the highest-ranking African-American in Congress.
I want the public to know that I'm voting for Joe Biden. South Carolinas should be voting for Joe Biden.
And some voters agree.
I'm not sure he won the most arguments, but I thought Biden looked the most presidential.
But after such a contentious debate, South Carolina Democrats are really looking for one thing.
We should be about coming together as one cohesive unit to move the country forward.
And there's a grueling campaign trail ahead. The South Carolina primary is just 3 days away, and 3 days after that is Super Tuesday, when 14 states, including those in Texas, get to make their pick. Live from Charleston, South Carolina, I'm Nadia Romero. Steve, back to you.
It'll be a whirlwind. Nadia Romero live in Charleston. Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't find Kate.
All right, and looking outside today, a lot of sunshine, but definitely on the cool side, especially relative to what's average for this time of year. Yeah, it's sunny. It's been gusty. The wind is slowly tapping the brakes, though. Let's take a look at our high temperature today. We only made it into the 50s this afternoon. We're talking upper 50s out there for our high temperature today, running well below average. And we started the day at 39, topped out at only 56 here in San Antonio. Let's take a look at our Weather Watcher readings. And looking at those numbers, look at that. Mostly right now, still readings just in the 50s, anywhere from 50 Leon Springs to upper 50s southeast of town. Temperatures falling off significantly tonight. We'll have a freeze, and I'll tell you more about that in detail. Specific communities across South Texas coming right up.